So I want to start tonight with a very specific type of person. You know the one. Maybe you have argued with this person at Thanksgiving. Maybe you have seen this person in the comment sections of almost every political post on the internet for the last 9 years. This is the person who, no matter what Donald Trump does, no matter how chaotic it looks, no matter how contradictory it seems, and no matter how many times it appears to completely fall apart, will look you straight in the eye and say, "You just do not understand. He is playing 3D chess. There is a plan. There is always a plan." That person has been very loud for a very long time. And what I want to show you tonight is something Nicolle Wallace said, because I think she put it better than almost anyone has in a long time. And what she said on television is the kind of thing many people in Washington are thinking but are still too careful to say directly. She said he is not playing 3D chess. He is not carrying out some master strategy many moves ahead of everyone else. He is sitting there doing random things on his phone. And she said it with a blunt honesty that the moment has been asking for. But here is why that matters, because this is not just about phone habits. It is not just about social media posts or late night rants or whatever the latest target of the week is. The 3D chess idea is doing something very specific in our political conversation and has been doing it for years. It is giving intellectual cover to chaos. It is turning impulsive behavior into genius, and it is convincing people, including members of his own party who should know better, that everything must be part of a plan, because surely someone this powerful must have a plan. Stay with me because I want to show you what that myth looks like when it meets reality. And the example I want to walk through tonight is so perfect that it almost feels unreal, but it is real, it is happening right now, and it involves a ballroom at the White House, or rather, where the White House East Wing used to be. In the summer of 2025, Donald Trump announced that he would demolish the White House East Wing, a historic part of the executive complex that has stood through decades of American history, and replace it with a 9,000 square foot ballroom, and he said this was needed because the White House did not have a large enough indoor space for events like state dinners and press gatherings. The East Wing was torn down without congressional approval, without permission from preservation bodies, just removed because he wanted a ballroom. And this is where the 3D chess supporters stepped in, because people immediately asked who is paying for this, and Trump gave a very clear answer. He said publicly and repeatedly that not 1 cent was coming from the federal government, and I want you to remember that because it matters later. He said these are private donors who are paying for the ballroom, that taxpayers would not fund it, and he said it directly in the Oval Office, saying not 1 cent from the government, it is all private money. I am paying for it, not the country. The initial cost was estimated at $200 million, fully private, no taxpayer money. That was the story. Then the number started going up, first to $250 million, then $300 million, then $400 million. But still the White House said it was 100% privately funded, no taxpayer money at all, even as the number increased and even as the identities of the donors were kept hidden, and no one could clearly explain where the money was coming from. Now fast forward to today. Senate Republicans led by Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley of Iowa have released a legislative package as part of a broader reconciliation bill, which is a party line bill they plan to pass without Democratic support using a process that avoids the usual 60 vote requirement. And inside this bill, there is a very specific item, $1 billion in taxpayer money for security upgrades tied to the White House ballroom project. Let me repeat that. $1 billion of taxpayer money for a ballroom that was originally said to cost taxpayers nothing. Now, the White House and Republican defenders argue this is not for the ballroom itself, but for security, including Secret Service upgrades and protection systems, and the bill does say the money cannot be used for non-security parts of the project, so they draw a distinction there. But the reality is that the security funding alone is more than double the original $400 million cost of building the ballroom. And the reason given for why this is needed now is the shooting incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner at the end of April, which happened at the Washington Hilton, and not at the White House, but is now being used to justify $1 billion in security spending for a project that was supposed to be privately funded. A Washington Post ABC News poll after that incident showed the ballroom project is still unpopular by about a 2-to-1 margin, with strong opponents far outnumbering strong supporters. This is not something most Americans asked for, and most people would not choose this if they were told their taxes would go toward it. Senator Richard Blumenthal called it a bait and switch. Senator Chris Coons said it is Trump promising one thing and doing another again, and Representative Brendan Boyle said it clearly as $0 for healthcare, $0 to lower costs, and a $1 billion check for Trump's ballroom. And this connects directly back to Nicolle Wallace's point, because the 3D chess idea requires you to believe there is always a hidden strategy, that chaos is actually discipline, and that contradictions are just deeper moves only experts can see. So when Trump says no taxpayer money, and then Republicans move toward $1 billion in taxpayer money, the question becomes whether that is part of some hidden plan. Nicolle Wallace's answer is no. What it looks like instead is someone constantly reacting, posting, shifting positions, and creating contradictions that others then have to fix after the fact. The 3D chess story exists to make disorder look intentional, but real intent requires consistency, and consistency is exactly what is missing when promises change, numbers grow, and explanations shift. This is the pattern we keep seeing, where something is said with full confidence, then later it changes or is reversed, and then it is explained as either misunderstood or part of a plan all along. But sometimes the simplest explanation is the most accurate one. There is no hidden layer. There is no master strategy behind it. What you see is what is happening. Posts go out, decisions get made in the moment, and others scramble to respond and turn it into something coherent afterward. That is not 3D chess. That is not even normal chess. That is reactive decision-making with a political system trying to keep up. And what makes it more important is that the original message of cutting costs and reducing waste is happening at the same time as Congress prepares to spend $1 billion on security for a ballroom that was supposed to cost nothing to taxpayers. Those two things exist together in the same political space, and the 3D chess idea tries to hold them together as a plan, while critics like Nicolle Wallace point out that they simply do not fit together logically. What she is really asking people to do is look at what is actually in front of them instead of assuming there must be a hidden genius behind it, because if everything is treated as part of a plan, then nothing can ever be a mistake, and nothing can ever be held accountable. So the real question becomes whether what we are seeing looks like a master strategist or someone constantly reacting in the moment while others clean up the results afterward. And if you are honest about it, the answer becomes pretty clear.